Can I be out there with the other players and you can't tell that I'm not real?
Traditional movie is made primarily with a camera, and then special effects are brought in after. In the future, you're going to use tools like Unity and tools like the Weta tools we brought, where it's virtual production, where the entire environment is created inside of a computer, essentially using green screen to put somebody's face or somebody's body inside of that environment. Yes, you can be inside of that world and you can inhabit any body you want. When people talk about, and I think the term's a little overused with the metaverse, but the things that we experience online or on the internet, they become 3D, they become interactive, they feel real, like you're there. And it is an astonishing change. It's amazing for education, what you can teach people when they can feel what they're doing versus just feeling like there's a teacher at the end of the classroom talking to them. They're tools that we're bringing to everyone now. The Weta tool chain and the many tools behind it will be such an enabler to artists across that literally any industry.
Today's Crypto Corner, want to dig into a little bit deeper here, Jared, the performance, and I should say outperformance by Ethereum. Bitcoin still pretty far off the last all-time high we saw there, north of that $65,000 mark, but Ethereum very close. About why Ethereum's really run up and the explosion of DeFi here. So when we talk about NFTs exploding, basically Ethereum becoming disinflationary as that goes on, contributing to, the scarcity of it, and then attached to that, the price goes up.
Well, Shiba Inu has been on fire as well. And let's chart all this because I have a 2-month candlestick chart of Ethereum here, of Ether. Would you say a coin's throw? I like that. I'm going to maybe a tokens throw or smart contracts throw. And you take a look at Bitcoin over the same period, that's pretty lackluster performance. You take a look at the longer term picture, looks a bit better, but these breakouts that we've seen in Bitcoin to higher highs, to record highs, haven't been rewarded with that surge, those surges that we've seen in the past. I mean, you take a look at the last 2 years' price action, and we've had some really big surges. We had one here in late 2020. It looks like the other tokens and coins and what have you are indeed picking up. I'm going to put on an equal weight chart. And this is 1 day's performance, and you can see some big outperformance here. But I want to take a look at what's happened over the last 5 days. This has been concurrent with that run-up that we've seen in Ether. Let's see where Bitcoin is in the mix here. It's right about in the middle, 7.5% over that time period. But I do think this portends the future of crypto. That just went live, and so investors who are accredited can now use an ETF. No matter what happens with the price of Bitcoin, we know that crypto is here to stay. It's just a function of pricing. And I think the demand for Ether is very instructive versus the lack of demand for Bitcoin.
Short-term capital gains, long-term capital gains, it's different when you look at crypto and owning that. There are those questions that investors would need to answer here. But to your broader point, Jared, as to where pricing goes, these other blockchains that are vying for market share against Ethereum with lower gas fees, higher transaction times, quicker transaction times, I should say, in trying to offer some of these things. And we've seen them dabble with NFTs, but you do wonder if we are in the early stages, what else is going to be built on these networks? Will you need quick transaction times for when we're talking about tokenized securities? Instead of buying shares in companies, you buy tokens corresponding to those shares. It's endless possibilities here, Jared.
Yeah, I just want to show the Wi-Fi Interactive one more time here. I have a year-to-date heat map of all our cryptocurrency token, not all of them, but just a selection here. And Dogecoin taking the cake here, Zach, up 3,700%. There was a filing made the other day for an Ethereum ETF, and the consensus on the street, or the analyst view, is that it has a low probability of coming forward just because of Gensler's not hostility, but concerns, trepidation with respect to these vehicles, even though it would be based on the futures.
Bitcoin bouncing back a bit today. It had dropped as low as 56,000, but it's had a really choppy trading week. This is a sign that it's becoming more mature and a more mainstream part of traders' portfolios. It's also where some are turning if they need to take risk off the table. Traders treating Bitcoin like a super liquid levered volatility index. The market there is also open 24/7. Really, other than Bitcoin, Ethereum, as you said, up almost 6%. There's also some speculation of an ETF for Ether, so that may be boosting prices. Macro trends, and they haven't become as mainstream as Bitcoin. And this is rare, though, guys. They usually perform worse than Bitcoin when there's any sort of deep sell-off. The MetaVerse that we talk about a lot, and something called decentralized finance. A lot of these smaller tokens tend to be tied to those projects. It looks like the market right now is expecting some of this buzz around altcoins to continue as we head into the end of this year. Outperforming today, all of this crypto volatility really tends to be good for its core business of crypto trading, and it announced its third acquisition of the month this morning.
An interesting acquisition considering the hacks it suffered, Kate. And is that meant to remedy those or prevent them in the future? So
it's a small deal. It solves the need for something called cold storage. So the idea that you would hold your Bitcoin off of an exchange. So long term, it could help with cybersecurity. And I think all of these crypto companies are looking at that area. It could also be something called an acqui-hire, where they really are buying the company to get more of the talent. So a lot of these smaller deals tend to be more in the acqui-hire category.
All right, as we mentioned at the top of the show, we're seeing really strong rallies here behind Bitcoin and even Ethereum. Let's bring in Yahoo Finance's crypto reporter, Jennifer Schonberger.
Ethereum outpacing Bitcoin by the widest margin this year. Take a look at a chart of Bitcoin versus Ethereum. Both tokens down, of course, from those record highs that we saw back on November 10th. But if you look at the performance over the past year, going back to December 2020, Ethereum has gained a whopping 530% over that time, while Bitcoin soared nearly 100%. Definitely nothing to sniff at as far as those returns. Bitcoin still reigns as the largest cryptocurrency measured by market capitalization. It's sitting at over 1 trillion right now. Ethereum, about half of that at 560 billion in terms of market cap. But Ethereum is gaining market share. Bitcoin's overall share of the entire digital asset ecosystem has been cut in half from earlier this year to less than 42%, according to Valkyrie funds. Ethereum has nearly doubled to more than 21%. So that can account perhaps for some of the price move that we've seen. Ethereum has been gaining ground as it's being used by thousands of new decentralized applications. The majority of projects are being built on the Ethereum blockchain as we look forward, which lends Ethereum to massive adoption as those projects come online. NFTs, as you know, are hot, and many of those NFTs are built on the Ethereum blockchain. Leah Wald, CEO of the Valkyrie funds, tells me, quote, Ethereum has outperformed Bitcoin this year because there's simply more happening on the Ethereum blockchain than anywhere else. Between DeFi increasingly eating TradeFi's lunch, NFTs continuing to soar higher, and projects geared towards building whatever the metaverse will ultimately be, it's no wonder Ethereum is up. Been telling me that we are looking at a bullish uptrend here, and it wouldn't be out of the question for either Ethereum or Bitcoin to make a new high before the end of the year. Separately, Brian, I just want to turn to some comments that SEC Chair Gary Gensler just made in a digital assets forum, speaking in New York this morning. He says that we still don't have sufficient investor protection for the crypto space. He says that these new technologies will not persist if we don't have the proper controls in place, and that the public will lose trust if we don't have those. He implored the so-called gatekeepers, which he calls accountants and lawyers who are working on crypto projects, to bring those in and register with the SEC. He also said that trading platforms should register with the SEC, and there's no question that for stable coins, there should be a one-to-one backing and there should be great transparency